Hey, what's going on, my YouTube family? It's your boy Adrian. I'm back with my 5th video discussing narcissism and narcissistic abuse. Today, I want to talk about childhood wounds because childhood wounds is a lot of what got us into the relationship with the narcissist in the first place. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of my personal life today. I am an 80s baby from Washington, D.C. So if you guys, I'm 39 years old. I was born in 1982. Born in Washington, D.C. and spent most of my life between Washington, D.C. and PG County. I still live here in PG County now. So if anybody can relate to DC in the 1980s, it was the crack epidemic. It was the murder capital of the world, pretty much. So a lot of kids from DC at that time suffered from some form of PTSD because of just the environment, just how we grew up, just what we dealt with, just what we saw on a day-to-day basis. So it was a lot of murder, it was a lot of drug dealing, there was a lot of drug use, it was a lot of prostitution. And we saw all of this day to day just on our regular blocks. To take it a step further, my father, my biological father, God rest his soul, he passed away in 2019. I'm comfortable telling you guys this story because I just got comfortable over the years, I guess, of talking about it and just tired of being embarrassed about the whole situation or whatever. But my father was considered a street guy here in DC, and being in the streets and being around it, being involved in it, he actually developed an addiction to heroin and several other narcotics himself. So his addiction goes back as far as I can remember. So, I remember being as young as 4, 5, 6 years old and dealing with him. And one thing about him, he was very honest and open with me about his problems. So he never really hid anything from me, as where some of my other family members would try to sugarcoat and hide things from me. He was pretty much straightforward and direct, which allowed us to keep a respectful relationship between us because I felt like he treated me as a man instead of lying to me. And even though I was a young boy, I feel like he treated me with at least the respect enough to be honest with me about what his problems was and what his addiction was, and he never really hid anything from me. So, so getting back into the childhood wounds, like I said, just growing up in this area and also having a drug addicted parent, what happens is, as a young child, you develop a sense of just having to accept shit the way that it is. You have to accept things the way that they are, because can't really change it. You're not in a position to change anything, so you just have to accept your environment for what it is and accept the things around you. So in that acceptance, what ends up happening is you end up being okay with shit that you shouldn't be okay with. You end up accepting things that a normal person or a normal healthy person that didn't experience this type of abuse, they will pretty much check those red flags at the door. So this is how we get set up with the narcissist. We basically are groomed to accept things that we shouldn't from our childhood and our childhood wounds. Because we've never really addressed them, and because all throughout our life we have basically been just accepting bad behavior and accepting toxic people in our life, and we actually develop a comfort with toxic people because that's our norm, that's what we're used to, that's what we grew up with. So when a toxic person comes around and we see the red flags, we start to make excuses for those red flags, and we start to make excuses for those people, and we start to say, you know, they're not that bad, or, you know, this, that, and the third, or whatever the case may be. But in all actuality, as a young man, I was not supposed to see the things that I saw. I was not supposed to see the needle use. I saw it firsthand. Like, I saw my father actually inject heroin into himself in various body parts, all of that kind of stuff. I've seen him go through overdoses. I've seen him passed out. I've seen the worst and the worst of drug addiction. I've seen the infections. I've dealt with it all. And my dad actually just died, like I said, in 2019. And which is also the time that I was discarded from an intimate, narcissistic, abusive entanglement. We weren't necessarily in a relationship, but I'll say an entanglement. But so all of that, I say all of that to say we have to address our childhood wounds. We have to really look into the things that hurt us in the past, because these things will go in our future. And as much as we develop a sense of fuck it, and we just develop a sense of we'll get past it, we'll get through it, and we just kind of resist the pain that's in there, we really have to take notice and and just be aware that it is affecting us, and it will go into our future if we don't address it. So hopefully you guys, I'm sure you guys have experienced a lot of other things. If you have experienced anything that I'm talking about now, or if you have your own childhood wounds, or if you have courage enough to put it in the comment box and tell me about some things that may have happened to you guys that have opened you up for abuse from toxic people, and just abuse from narcissism and narcissistic people in general. Salute you guys. I appreciate you guys. This is my 5th video. Man, subscribe to the channel. Show your boy some encouragement. I'm growing it out. I promise I'll get a lot better at this. I'm actually getting a lot more comfortable in front of the camera already. This is a task for me. This is something that I have always been afraid of. I grew up in an era, like I said, I grew up in Washington, D.C. We come from we come from the gutter, we come from the streets. So in my era, when we came up, you couldn't point a camera at people. Now it's the norm. Now you put the camera in front of somebody and it's lights, camera, action. Back then, if you pointed a camera at somebody, it's like, man, what you gonna get the camera on my face, like, you know what I'm saying? Because that's just the lifestyle and everything that we was living at that time, man. So much love to everybody, man. Take care of your childhood wounds, address them. Whatever you have to do, if you have to seek therapy, I never did. I actually took my childhood wounds on the chin and kept it moving, but as a 39-year-old man, I recommend you guys seek therapy if you can, because it's important. That mental health is important, and I was strong enough to deal with a lot of abuse and a lot of things that I dealt with in life, but I understand that everybody may not be as strong as me, and everybody may not be as strong as other people out here that have gone through certain things, and we cope differently. We cope